Yeah.
Hello everyone. Good morning guys. How you all are doing? I hope the Josh is still intact and let us know how you are feeling about this Android meetup in the chat box. We will be really looking forward to having a great session with you all. So okay. I'm Tejasvi Chaudhary, Google Developer Student Club's lead of Usha Mittal Institute of Technology, and we are today hosting our first ever Android meetup with collaboration of GDSC VGTI, GDSC VIT Mumbai, and GDSC MIT. So now all of the leads will introduce themselves. Vriddhi?
Hi, hello everyone. This is Vriddhi Gupta, and I'm the lead at GDSC VJTI. I hope you will enjoy today's session and you will gain your knowledge from this session. So, thank you so much for attending this session. Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Dhwani and I'm the GDSC lead at Model Institute of Engineering and Technology and the facilitator for this campaign. I hope I'm audible to everyone and we really look forward to hosting you all. This is our first collaboration event and we really look forward to, doing more such events if we see great enthusiasm in this one. So we hope you learned something from this and let's get on with it.
The next lead is Pranav Khatar. He is the club lead of VIT Mumbai. He will be joining us shortly. So, before starting with the session, I would like to inform you all that our speaker, Mr. Sanju S., who is a Google developer expert, will be joining us a bit late due to some unavoidable internet issues. So, I hope you all understand, and we will go forward with the panel discussion, which we have planned with for you all, and the brightest minds of all of our colleges will show their enthusiasm and share their insights with all.
Thank you so much, Tejasvi. Now, okay, so I'll first introduce myself again. This is Vritti Gupta, and I will be hosting the panel discussion for you all. So, now introducing you to our first panelist, who is Ravi Maurya, who is an amazing Android app developer with experience of many years and whose application, Taperback, was featured in the top 5 noteworthy apps built by participants of Android Study Jams by Google in India. So, along with this, he is the upcoming summer intern at DE Shaw. Our second panelist for today is Pankaj Kushalani, who has great knowledge and development skills in several domains, including Android. Having made projects in different domains, he is currently the cloud lead at GDSC VJTI and an upcoming intern at Hilti. Our third panelist is Shruti Gawali, who is a co-team member and Android Study Jam facilitator at GDSC UMIT. She is a web developer with skills for building online applications using React.js, Node.js, MongoDB, and Django REST, and in the process of excelling Android development domain. We have with us Prasad Thakre, who is a diligent learner and also the Android Study Jam facilitator at GDSC VJTI. Along with this, Prasad is an upcoming intern at Citibank, where he showed his great development skills and knowledge of DSA in his interviews. Last but not the least, we have Aziz Dandawala, who is the app development lead at GDSC VJTI and an upcoming intern at Pfizer. Aziz is an excellent Android app developer using Kotlin and has participated in numerous hackathons and competitions. So I hope you all look forward to this panel discussion. Thank you. Now I would like to request our panelists if they have to something to say about themselves, then they can go ahead. Like if you wish to speak about your journey in this Android development domain, then you can take on this stage one by one, obviously. Yeah. So I'll start. Ravi, can you go first? Yeah, Ravi, can you go first?
Yep, sure. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, Ravi, you are clearly audible.
Okay, cool. So, hey everyone, my name is Ravi, and thanks Vriddhi for introducing us. So, my journey with Android development began in a very different technology. So, I started with Android development in 8th standard using a technology called as Xamarin. Now, Xamarin uses a language called as C Sharp. So I learned C Sharp and I started to build Android applications, like small Android applications. And then in few months, I realized that there is a better programming language to build Android applications, and that was Java. So then I learned Java with a lot of YouTube videos, and then I started to build Android applications using Java. And in later in 2017 or 2018, Google announced that Kotlin will be added as official support for Android applications. So then I decided to switch from Java to Kotlin, and I started to create applications using Kotlin. Later, before joining college, before my first year, I created an Android application for the students who are preparing for MHT CT entrance exam, and I published that application. And within few months, that application blew up and it got a lot of downloads. And currently, that application has about 150,000 downloads on Play Store. So that was a great moment for me. And then in my first year, I got to know about Flutter from my seniors. So I learned a little bit of Flutter. And then in the past year, in 2020, due to the Android campaign conducted by GDSE, I got to know a lot of new things in Kotlin. And based on learning all those things, I implemented an app called as Paperback, which is used to read books. And that app got selected by Google as the top 5 noteworthy apps in India. So that was the entire journey of Android development for me.
That was really, really nice to hear your journey, Ravi. So I would like to request Pankaj now to go ahead with his journey.
Firstly, thank you so much, Riddhi, for the humbling introduction of I and the panelists. And I'm really glad to be a part of the panel. And after hearing Ravi's amazing journey, because I myself am a user of Paperback, it is an amazing application. So, talking about my journey, I was introduced to Android application development in my first year of college itself, where I had been selected for a mentorship program under the IEEE student branch at my college, where I had developed a Java Android application which interacted with many IoT devices. So the major challenge that I faced was that I did not know Java when I had to begin with it. But thankfully, my object-oriented programming skills in C++ definitely helped me to switch to Java and to create that application successfully. And after my first year of college, I started to learn Flutter. And I saw the stark difference in creating a user interface in Java and to create the same in Flutter, because Flutter made the development really fast. And I had to learn another programming language, which is Dart, for the same. So that was my experience with Flutter. And in that, I had created a project which tried to replicate some of the features of Google Classroom along with my fellow panelists that we have here, which is Aziz. So we made that Flutter application. And after all of that, I even participated in a hackathon, and my team was the runner up in that hackathon where we made a canteen management system using Flutter. So that was all covering Java and Flutter, even before I was introduced to Kotlin. So just as this year, last year we had the Android study jams, and I got to learn Kotlin. And thankfully, even there, my skills in Java, some of the skills in Java helped me learn Kotlin real quick. And I was so happy, and it was so fun to learn Kotlin because it made development so much easier than how it is in Java. So that was the study jam experience. I completed the study jams, and after that, there was the Google Developer Solution Challenge, in which I participated along with two of my fellow panelists here, Prasad and Aziz, where we created an application called as EcoConnect, and that was an amazing experience as well, and it has brought me here today. So that was all about my journey, Android.
That was really motivating, Pankaj. So to hear more such journeys, I would like to request Shruti to talk about her journey.
Okay, so I'm very happy to listen to all these experienced people and grateful to be one panelist among them. So, talking about my journey, I was basically a full stack web developer and I'm learning it from past 1 year. And also, simultaneously, I developed interest in Android app development. So I started attending workshops and I learned how to install and set up Android Studio. And trust me, once you install the Android Studio and set it up, that was the most difficult part even before starting Android Studio. So since I was not familiar with OOPS and Java, it was a bit difficult for me to cope up and build even one-pager application. So eventually I lost track on it. So a few months back, when I came to know about this Android study jams using Kotlin, I thought I should give it another shot and see if I could excel in this time. So I started learning Kotlin, basic apps like one-pager application like login page, registration, using Firebase authentication SDK, then how to create layouts, how to create views, and eventually I started gaining confidence that maybe this is my shot. I should go ahead with this, and eventually I became the Android facilitator for my campus, and I hope that being here I would learn a lot of new things, and I would also help others who are maybe going on my track and motivate them to excel in this also. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shruti. I hope that you excel in this domain. Now, I would request Prasad to do these honors.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving me the chance to share my experience. I am honored to be here with all the other panelists. My journey with Android development started fairly recently in my second year. That was when our GDSE had organized dedicated Android study jams in Kotlin, which I had participated in. Uh, they inspired me to explore this domain further. And after learning Kotlin, I worked on a couple of projects, one of which is the Novel Community app, where the users can browse through books and based on their preferences and their preferred genre, they can get the download links for the same. Following the study jams, I also participated in the Solution Challenge Hackathon with Pankaj and Aziz, where I worked on EcoConnect, which is a waste disposal app. And currently, I am working with Jetpack Compose, working and learning Jetpack Compose, and also sharing whatever knowledge I gained with others as the Android Study Jam facilitator at GDSE VGT. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prasad. It was really insightful. Aziz, would you like to go?
Sure. So I started my Android development learning journey right from the first year. So the first language that I learned was Java, and then I thought of developing Android apps through Java. I also bought a Udemy course. So then I started making Android applications. And then I switched to Kotlin, and when I switched to Kotlin, I just came to know that Kotlin is much more better than Java. So then I started developing applications in the same. And then during my summer vacations, I also explored Flutter, where I made apps. Where I made an app with my fellow panelist Pankaj, and then recently I also participated in Solution Challenge, which again I made the app along with my fellow panelists Prasad and Pankaj. So it was a great learning experience, and yeah, I mean that's it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Aziz, and thank you so much, panelists, for explaining your journey to us. So let us go to our questions now. These are the questions where which are from students. Like students get this question in their mind when they start with Android app development, and these are some common questions which were asked to us by our juniors, by our peer mates. So let us start with the first question. So students are confused as to which language to use for Android development. So can you guys shed some light on the benefits of Java and Kotlin? Because these are the two languages in which students get confused generally. So can you shed some light on this? Okay, so Aziz, can you go first?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So yeah. So you said that Kotlin is an open source language, which is like based on the Java virtual machine. It's a statically typed programming language, and it's an easy language to learn. It's more readable. It's more concise, and that's the reason the birth of Kotlin took place, because Java has been for like more than 22 years. It's an old language, and programmers are well acquainted with Java, but then there are some disadvantages which you cannot neglect, and that is the programming experience, the coding experience, and that's where the Kotlin picture comes in. Now, what Kotlin does is Kotlin first of all makes your code more readable. It's more concise. There's less boilerplate code, which makes Kotlin the first choice of Android native Android developers. It's interoperable with Java, so both Java and Kotlin code can coexist in the same project. You can compile your project using both of these languages. It's an easy to learn language, and in a nutshell, Kotlin is an amazing language. Now, I guess, Pankaj, would you like to add something to it?
Yes, definitely. Having worked so much with Java as well as Kotlin, I can say that to me, when I started learning Kotlin last year during the Android Study Jam, it felt to me that Kotlin is the marriage of the discipline of Java and the simplicity of Python. It felt like it's the best of both worlds. So the programming language that is Kotlin, that definitely improves the developer experience. It did for me in going from Java to Kotlin. And one of the major things that I would say that why Java is used for Android development or why Kotlin is used for Android development, because these bring about different features, such as Java brings about multi-threading, and Kotlin improves upon that. It has a different concurrency pattern called as coroutines. So these are the two things that make them really useful to make Android application development, because we have to have an app interact with the operating system, which is Android, and there are so many resources and so many processes to be handled together. So it is necessary to have these construction place, that is multi-threading, or to have something such as what Kotlin has.
That was really insightful, Aziz and Pankaj. I guess now we can decide what language to use, either Java or Kotlin. Moving on to our next question. So, is it worth becoming an Android developer? Like, would it still be a good career choice 10 years from now? Like, can we assume that, okay, we can get some job or some opportunities in the future if we work on our Android development skills? So, would you like to shed some light on it, Prasad?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Uh, and this is rather a very strong question. And my answer would be yeah, definitely. Android apps have given both convenience and better accessibility to users. Almost all the websites on the internet have an Android application for smartphones. As a matter of fact, Android is not only restrained to smartphones, but it is also used in devices like there are smart TVs, smart watches. Even recently, Windows 11 announced support for Android apps. So this opens up a lot of new opportunities for Android developers. Further, Android OS is advancing at a very rapid rate. Every year we have a new update on our smartphones, which comes with a lot of new features. For example, the current Android OS, that is version 12, it has a lot of improvements on UI and UX. And adding to that, we have JetBrains and Google who are working tirelessly every day, adding new libraries to Kotlin. For example, we have Jetpack Compose. uh, so yeah, Android development is a rapidly growing community and is definitely worth being a part of. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prasad, for your insights. Ravi, would you like to add a few points to what Prasad said?
Yep. So Prasad gave a really good answer. So adding to that, I could say if you observe the current state of the world, the population is about 7.7 billion people, and in that, if you check the number of Android users, so that would be around 2.8 billion devices which are active today, and that is a lot number of devices that are active. And based on that, if you create an Android application now and if you publish it on Google Play Store, then there is a high chances that you will get about thousands or even lakhs of downloads on that application. So it's a great way to reach new audiences, and like you can promote your business using your Android applications. And coming to job opportunities in Android applications, you could say that let it be a small local store or a startup or a big organization like Microsoft, Google, or Apple, everyone really needs an Android application for this service, because most of the people are on smartphones, and like very few number of them actually use computers, right? So therefore they need an Android application for that. So therefore there is a lot of job opportunities, there is a lot of open positions for Android developers. And coming to the question that 10 years down the line, will Android development be like in hype? So I could say that yes, because the technology is like evolving very fast. Every day you can see new features being added. Every year we get new huge releases and new technologies that come out, like Flutter and now Jetpack Compose. So this is a continuous evolving process, and you can see a lot of development in this field.
Thank you, Ravi. That was really a great answer, I must say. Maybe after listening to your answer, more and more people will start their journey in Android development. I hope so. Okay, so coming to our next question. So, why should one go for Kotlin other than cross-platform frameworks like Flutter and React? Like, why should one go for Kotlin? What are the advantages that Kotlin offers to you? For this question, I would like to request Pankaj. Yeah, Pankaj, you can go ahead.
That is a very common question, I would say, and one such doubt I had when I had already learned Java, and I was questioning myself, why should I go ahead with something such as Flutter, which is a cross-platform library to make UI? And the thing is that from my recent experience in the solution challenge, where I made a Kotlin mobile application which had several native features. It used the camera, and it was really compute heavy. That is, it used machine learning. It used a machine learning model which was made on Google Cloud Platform. So there were so many things going on and native features being used. And from my experience, it would have been really difficult to implement these native features when done in Flutter, which is a cross-platform library. So with my experience in Flutter, I can definitely say that developing user interfaces is so much better. It feels like you're drawing on the screen like a canvas. Whereas in Kotlin or in Java, you have something called as XML, which is kind of it is kind of like HTML. It is structured in that manner. So that is what you get when you develop natively in creating user interfaces. And whereas you have the superior option, to me it feels superior, which is Flutter in creating the user interfaces. So that would be my opinion, that when you have to develop natively, Kotlin would be first, and when you have to focus more on just creating the UI and not add many functionalities, I would straight away go for Flutter.
Okay, that was a good answer, Pankaj. Now I would like to request Aziz if he wants to add something to this.
Yep, sure. So what Pankaj said, the Kotlin is actually, like a great language, and when it comes to cross-platform networks, first of all, I feel that Flutter is like a framework, and to develop the user interface. But you use Dart programming, to build those mobile apps. And when we compare Dart with Kotlin, Kotlin definitely wins the race because Kotlin is a much better language than Dart. When you write Kotlin code, it's much more readable than Dart. It's much more easy to learn. So I feel that Kotlin is a better language than Dart. And when it comes to performance, Kotlin does well. And also the learning part, I said, when it comes to learning, I guess both of them are just easy to learn. And when we also talk about the next set of features, for example, the app size, when you develop apps using Flutter, the app size is usually big, but that's not the case with Kotlin. And also when we talk about some of the integration with third party libraries, I feel that because like when we talk about Flutter, there's someone else who's writing those libraries. But when we talk about Kotlin, it has it does not require any third party libraries. And then the community support is really good with Kotlin because Flutter is still in a development phase, whereas Kotlin has been existing since a long time. And also recently we had Google introduced a Jetpack Compose, which is a modern toolkit user interface. modern toolkit for building user interfaces, and which eliminates the disadvantages that we had earlier with XML, which is also the Jetpack Compose thing is also written in Kotlin. So so I would any day prefer Kotlin over Flutter. Ravi, would you like to add something to it?
Yes, so both of you have covered all the valid points, and adding to that, like I would say something based on my experience with both of them. Actually, I already told you about the Android application that I created that got a lot of downloads. So that was originally built on Kotlin. Later, when I learned Flutter, so I thought, okay, Flutter is new. It creates very beautiful UIs. So let's convert my app from Kotlin to Flutter. So I rewrote the entire code base in Flutter, and I during the night time I published my app on Play Store. And when I woke up and I saw the statistics for that application, I got to know that the Flutter app crashed on a lot of devices, right? So the app was not working properly on many devices. So the problem, when I investigated the problem on that, I came to know that the libraries which I have used in my application, they were built by someone else. So and they were not completely stable. So there were a lot of bugs in those libraries, and therefore it caused crashes on a lot of different devices. So I would say that Flutter is very easy to learn and easy to create apps with. But if you want to build something on a production scale and a lot of users are using it, and it has a lot of functionalities, then I would suggest go with Kotlin, because Kotlin has been around for like all these years, and Java also for a long time. So these are pretty stable, and you can expect that things will not go wrong from your side. So that's
Yeah,
it.
thank you so much, Ravi and Pankaj and Aziz as well for sharing your insights on this question. Moving on to our next question. So, any field will have its positives and negatives, right? So, could you please tell us the negatives in this field, like in the Android development field, and how do we convert them into positive? So, for this, Shruti, do you have anything to say on this question?
Yeah, Riddhi, I will take this one. So I think while developing any app, the user interface plays a very important role. And if we look at the current situation, different versions of Android, with different versions, there are different resolution and screen sizes available of Android devices. So the Android application should be responsive on every device. So I think to develop such an app, the developers must have a good knowledge of the different versions. And I won't look at this as a negative side, but I would say this as more as a challenge for the developers. But when we look at the point of view of testing, while testing these apps, we need to test it on various devices. And when we look at the price it would cost for testing, so I would say that then this is a disadvantages of Android application. So yeah, that was from my side. Prasad, do you have any other take on this? Prasad, you are on mute.
Am I audible now?
Yes, Prasad, you're audible.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would love to add to this question answer. So compared to web development, Android development has a steeper learning curve. That is, it is not that much beginner friendly as compared to web development. It requires a new and a heavy IDE, which is Android Studio, which has its own higher system requirements. Further, there is Gradle building time. That is, we cannot directly run that code. The app needs to be built on the IDE, that is Android Studio. So it may take somewhere from around a few seconds to like 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how strong or how higher specifications your laptop has or your computer has. So those would be the cons. And looking at the positive side, Android Studio is a very complex IDE, but it has everything that a developer requires to create powerful apps. So it just takes some time to work and get accustomed to these functionalities.
Thank you, Prasad, and thank you, Shruti, for your comments on this question. I think we have reached the end of our questions. So I would like to thank all our panelists today for their thoughtful responses and opinions. And I hope it has dispelled some of our audience's doubts as well. So now, if you have any queries, please enter them in the chat box and we will answer them for you. I will hand over to Deep now.
Yeah, am I audible? It's like,
Yes, sure.
yeah, thank you. So, first, I would like to introduce myself. I am Deep Chane, Android facilitator of GDSC with Delankar Institute of Technology, Mumbai, and I would like first like to thank you all for answering such wonderful questions. Now we will take some from our live comments. From, like first question is from Krishna. He would like to know about how you guys between tech stacks in app domain. Um, Basically, would like to know in detail about your journey. I'm sure Krishna they shared a lot about their journey in the first question only. So we will move ahead. Next question is from Sarah. What is the best way to learn the app development and how do you decide the tech stack? Um, Pankaj, can
That
you?
is yes. That is definitely a good question because uh, right now, what all we have discussed with our journey, or the panel has discussed, maybe many of the audience, many of the members in the audience would be motivated to start learning app development, and that's why we have GDSE introduces to us the Android study jams, and we feel that that is the great way and the proper way to begin with learning Android app development in this modern age of developing apps. So using Kotlin and proceeding with that. So that is what we would suggest. And the other part of the question, I think that was to how do we decide the tech stack? Now, that is a question that not only depends upon, it depends upon, it is subjective. It depends upon the problem statement that we have in front of us. Such as when I talk about the solution challenge in which I, Prasad, and Aziz had participated in, it was a 3 month long, 2 month long hackathon, I would say. So in that, we had to target different Google technologies. So that's why we made use of Google Cloud Platform, Kotlin, and Firebase. So that decided a tech stack. But when I talk about my hackathon experience, in which I had made app using Flutter, so it depended upon the problem statement that had to be dealt with, and the of course the team members' capabilities for that event. Or if other panelists want to add to this question.
Anyone want to add some light to that question? Okay, so I hope that answers Sarah's question. That was a nice one, and thank you for answering. Now we will move to Krishna. Also, should we start with an easy to learn language or an old, comparatively harder one? Basically, old language or we have to start with a new and upcoming language? Krishna is asking.
I think Ravi would be the best one to answer that because he knows he has done development in C sharp as well, which is comparatively an older and more verbose language. So maybe he can take that up because he has that varied experience.
Okay, moving towards you,
Uh,
Ravi.
yes. So I would say that if you're going with an older, like if you want something which is much more stable, right? If you're working in a company and you want to create something that is very stable and which is like which does not fails, does not gives the correct output and works properly, then go with something which is older and much more stable, like Java or Kotlin. And if you want to learn or if you want to create projects on your own, right? So if you are in college and you want to create projects on your own, you want to try different things, then you can like go with something new like React Native or Flutter, something like that.
Yeah, that's right. It's on depends on every person what they want to choose. Like depends on
Yeah.
what problem statement and all. So it's on person. Moving towards next question. What was the biggest obstacle in your Android journey, and how did you overcome it? Prasad, would you like to answer this?
Yeah, definitely. So my biggest obstacle was that my laptop was outdated. As I said, Android IDE can be pretty heavy to learn. Yeah. So like I had to buy a completely new laptop and then install Android Studios. Further, I would actually work on my phone hotspot. So downloading a big IDE like Android Studio, which is like 3 GB big, it was a task for me. So I had to like wait, then install it on my new laptop. And the thing is, after you install it, the laptop basically becomes a little slow. So you have to deal with it. So
Yeah,
my biggest,
hardware is the
yeah, yeah,
problem for
hardware
Android.
was the biggest challenge for me. Yeah.
And next is Abhay's question. Kotlin or Android in general seems to be mostly used for front end. Can you explain the backend side applications of this technology, Aziz?
Sure. So, first of all, Kotlin could be used as a writing code for backend as well. There are some services by Google itself. For example, Firebase. So Firebase is a backend service that provides with a lot of functionalities. For example, authentication, then database. Then we have cloud computing. So if you talk about Kotlin, there's a good community support. You have a lot of libraries in it, uh, and yeah.
Uh,
I could
I guess,
add to that. Yes.
okay.
So it is true that now we have Jetpack Compose, we have Kotlin multi-platform. So with that, we can use Kotlin mainly for creating user interfaces. But when it comes to the backend side of applications, definitely Aziz mentioned one of the most used options with almost all applications, that is Firebase. But there are other things as well, other technologies as well that can be used for a backend, such as when Ayan Aziz had created the application which tried to replicate some of the features of Google Classroom. We used an API that was made using Flask. So that was one of the backend side that we tried. But then when we talk about, let's say, Kotlin itself has a library, has an entire framework called as Ktor. So Ktor is one such library that you can use to write your backend code, and that is developed by the creators of Kotlin, which are JetBrains. So even that technology has great backing. And apart from that, there are other. If you develop in Java, you can also make your backend in Spring or Spring Boot. So you also have those options. And one major point I would like to put forward is that when I learned Dart for Flutter, I could not see any other use for Dart apart from developing applications in Flutter. So that is one disadvantage that I saw, that I did not find any framework that could create backends in Dart, but several which could do the same in Kotlin.
Okay, that will help you in deciding the most backend language or which side you want to go for choosing the language. Now with the Kashyap questions, you want to know what are the resources for the Android Studio, like Android development. Have you guys referred any YouTube videos or for that, like what?
Definitely. For Kotlin, there are several YouTube channels, videos, and even Google Developers Android has their own YouTube channel where they put modern Android development or MAD tips every week. So that is something to check out. And apart from that, the YouTube channels I referred to, one of them was Coding with Mitch, who has this amazing playlist on architectures and Jetpack Compose as well. And also we have one of the Google developer expert in Android, who is Philip Lackner. Even his YouTube channel is an amazing resource to learn Kotlin. So those were the two channels I really referred and still refer to.
Wow, that's good to know, and hopefully that will guide us more students to refer the videos. Now, next Sachit question: how to study the backend for app development? I think we answered that at Abhay's question. Um, and moving to our next, have you guys ever worked on database? So
Uh, yes, and I have worked on Room database because that is a part of the syllabus that is covered in Android Study Jams. So I had studied it last year, and it is really interesting to see how you can use local storage of your application. You can use SQLite database and interact it with Room. So you can use that in the MVVM architecture. You can place it in interacting with the repository API that you create. So that is where I work with Room database, and I think many of my peers who were participating in the Android Study Jams last year had some experience with Room database, and you will also have that same experience. I think with the 6 units of Android Study Jams, it is in the 5th unit, so you will definitely get to learn Room database.
Okay, that's a very good point, I guess. And guys, you can also learn it and Android Jams, which is like throughout the month, and also you can build the apps by learning that. So next, Krishna question: mistake you guys made during journey. Mistakes you guys made during your journey and would warn us for the same. As Prasad told us, he's about what I can say hardware problem. Any other one? Any of you guys want to share your mistakes?
I would like to share one
Yes,
mistake
Ravi.
that most of the times, in my journey, I was switching from technology to technology, not just in Android but in different fields like web development and different things. So and I was doing many things simultaneously. I was trying to do competitive coding, web development, Android, blockchain, everything together. So that is something you should not do, because in that case you would not gain proper experience in one of it, and you would just learn a little bit in all of them. So I think, like, if you're trying something new, at least spend 3 or 4 months in that before deciding to jump on something else. And if you loved doing that in 3 4 months, then maybe continue it forever. So that is something I did mistake, and I would recommend others not to do it.
Of course, everyone has to spend little more time on what they are doing. Like you can't go like I want to learn this. You will learn for one day, and you said you are master of it. You have to practice that. So moving towards next question. Yes, Sarah has lots of question. How do you come up with the project idea for an app? Aziz, would you like to answer that?
Okay, so it's basically an experience. While you learn something, you just think that what I can make. From what I can make. Like how can I build an app using this knowledge? For example, you're learning simple logic. You're learning how to code. Now you can use the same logic and try to build applications out of it. And also when you think of building an application, you just think about how it can ease people's lives. So that's from my experience, we made a classroom app because we had some issues initially, where there was uh, the notification. There were some issues with the notifications in our institution's website. So we created an app that directly gives the notifications from the website directly into our phone, so we just stay updated. And that's how you come up with you think about a problem, and then you think about a solution, and then you start on building an application for it. So that's how you come up with project ideas.
Yeah, that's right. If you have decided the project idea, then you can decide what language you have to choose, what libraries you have to pick up, and what platform you have to uh, go for. So
Yes, sir, I
that's
would
the
like to add a bit on that, because
okay.
we use our cell phones almost 6 to 8 hours throughout the day. So we can easily identify some of the problems that we might be having while using our cell phone. So, such as one of my friends created a calculator app for income taxes calculation. So that was one of the things his parents were facing. So he took that problem and turned it into a solution. And one of the things that many of us maybe face, that missing out on birthdays. So one of my friends also took that and made an app for the same in React Native. Yet he got that problem and made it into a solution. So it can be as simple as that. Not it can be it does not have to be that complex, such as I, Prasad, and Aziz had made, which had machine learning into it. But it can be as simple as a calendar app, a notes app, and that's it. It comes with the constant development. It comes with practice.
Yeah, what they say is right. In the word of extraordinary, try to be simple. So we will take last two questions. It's from Priya. An Android Studio is a very heavy application. Are there any other options for development? Does VS Code have good support for Android development? Ravi, Prasad, would you like to share?
I believe
Prasad, you
uh,
can
we
go
can.
ahead. Huh.
Yeah. I mostly have not used VS Code for Kotlin, but we can write code in Flutter in VS Code. That I'm sure of. I believe Ravi can shed some light on use
Yeah.
of Kotlin in VS Code.
Yeah.
So actually, like a lot of features related to Android development in Kotlin are available within Android Studio, and VS Code doesn't has all those features, right? So VS Code cannot build your Gradle file. You will need to use something like Android Studio, which has all those features. So if you just want to edit a simple file of Kotlin, you can open up VS Code and edit that. But all those other features would not be there in VS Code. And if you are doing anything else like Flutter or React Native, then you can use VS Code completely.
Right,
Hopefully
because
that.
many people forget that. Sorry to cut you again, but
No
many
worries.
people do forget that Visual Studio Code is a code editor, not an integrated development environment such as a heavy packed Android Studio. Because Android Studio is based on IntelliJ, which runs on JVM, and it comes with many of those technologies that can help you run Kotlin and Java in an optimized manner. And even the Android virtual device that even VS Code has with an extension, but Android Studio provides it right out of the box. So those are some things that Android Studio has, and that is why it is recommended by Google and JetBrains. But in the future, maybe we will have better and lightweight IDEs, such as coming up as JetBrains Fleet or JetBrains Remote Development. So you can look out for those.
Okay, and one last question is from my side. Many of us develop backend, or like we are good enough in coding, but we don't know how to design the UI of the application. So, can you guys share like how to design a perfect or at least good enough to market the app? Aziz?
I think Ravi can definitely take that up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
He
I
yeah.
is one
think
of
Ravi
our
should.
definitely answer.
Okay,
design
Ravi, go
experts.
ahead.
So, coming to UI, I would suggest if you're not good at UI, just copy what others are doing, right? So, if you're creating something like a chat application and you're not sure how things work, just Google and see what other chat application UI looks like, what WhatsApp looks like, what like Instagram chat looks like, and you can take inspiration from that. You can even like directly copy some elements. You can maybe change colors and see what looks better with your app. And uh, and I would recommend that if you're trying to design a UI, first use a tool like Figma or Sketch. So these are tools which can be used to just design the UI. So these tools can be used to design UI. So first do that, create a UI and check if how it's looking. Then when you're coding, then it becomes very simple to just look at the UI and then code it. But if you're doing it together, then it becomes very difficult, because then you're constantly switching your mind from the coding side to the designing side. So I would say first design the UI, or at least get the overall layout in Figma, and then try to code it in Android Studio.
Yeah, thank you. That was so like good to know for personal me also. And I would like to thank you all for answering such wonderful questions in like very basic way where everyone can understand them, and like participants are also loving it, but due to time constraints, we have to move on. Like anyone has any questions, you can mail us, or we will put social media handles in the chat box at the end. You can ask us there. Now I would like to hand over the session to Dhwani to tell more about Android gems.
Hi Deep, thank you so much. I hope I'm perfectly audible to you all.
Yes, Dhwani.
Yeah, great. So can you guys present the screen? Yeah, so thank you so much. I hope everybody learned something or the other from all these amazing panelists because, to be very honest, I am also new to Android development, and this was really, exciting to know all this amazing stuff they all are doing, and it's really motivating. So let's just start with the basic of what we are actually here for, the Android study jams. This is a campaign that is organized by Google Developer Student Clubs, and the main motive of it is to motivate all the students to like really get into Android development using Kotlin. So since most of you have already heard, and like you must have made a summary out of it, that there are a few prerequisites to the campaign. First is basic computer literacy. This comes with basic coding knowledge. I have already started the curriculum that comes under Android Study Jams, and trust me, it's not that difficult. I mean, when you start doing it, you will actually, like you will be innovating great stuff with a few basic steps. So basic computer literacy, I'm sure a lot of you might not be familiarized with the basic concepts of coding, but don't worry, this campaign is for everybody, from a from a person who is just starting to a person who is actually at an intermediate level. So don't worry, you can start this campaign as you please. Then there is a basic math skills. Obviously, when you are designing a code, there is certain mathematical logical part that is associated to it. So I'm sure anybody who can you move on to the previous slide? Yeah, so I'm sure anybody who like goes on with this will actually know what basic maths is involved. Other than that, the prerequisites are Android Studio, that's for sure, and a basic knowledge of how Kotlin works, because as they already discussed, how Flutter and like Flutter and Kotlin are different, how VS Code and Android Studio are different. So can you move on to the next slide? Thank you. Yeah, so this is a basic layout. These few slides will cover a basic layout of what you'll actually learn in the program. First is introduction to Kotlin. Now this will start from the very beginning. It will, it will build up on the basic levels. Learn to code in Kotlin. And this language, many of you might not have heard about it, but it is actually used a lot in the Google Suite apps. So it's, it will be helpful to you once you start with the introduction of Kotlin. Then there's create your first Android app. So this campaign is divided, like into units and pathways. There are 6 units, and each unit has a set of pathways, and those pathways are skill badges. So in the first unit itself, you will be able to create a basic app. In the first unit, I created 3 basic apps. One was a birthday card, then there was a calculator, and then there was like a picture funny kind of thing. So you will create your first app in the very first unit, in the very first pathway. So it's not like you have to complete all the chapters, like get into the app making process. Then there's build a basic layout. Now these basic layouts are not like printing hello world on the screen. You will be making actual real world projects. Then there is build an app, like you will learn how to use classes, objects, and conditionals. And there is also a part of inheritance that is there in this. So basically, it's not like you have to like know these concepts from the beginning. They actually explain to you all these concepts from the scratch. Then there is this birthday card app, then there is this dice app, and in this dice app, we actually create a movable dice, like the games you play Ludo and Snakes and Ladders. You see the dice there, right? You just have to tap on it and it rolls the number you have got. So you will be actually creating that dice. Can you move to the next slide? Yeah. Get user input. So it will actually teach you how to get user input, and you can actually perform computations on that. So you will be building a tip calculator app. What this app did was, when you're in a restaurant, suppose you might be confused, what tip should I give to the person who was serving me, right? So you can just, like, this app layout will, like, let you enter the amount of bill, then it will let you, like, enter the quality of service, and then it will actually calculate the tip for you. So this is a user interface app, and it will help you take user inputs. Then there is a display a scrollable list. You can also you will also learn to, create lists, navigation menus, and, navigate between two screens. I am personally working on a project, and in that I have already created 3 screens using this course only. Then there is Jetpack navigation components, makes it easier to navigate within your app. All the components that are associated with Android Studio are really interactive with the user. I mean, there are lots of tips that come in, and the most important and interesting thing about Android Studio and Kotlin is that you don't have to pinpoint your mistakes in the code. It will actually show you in which line which part of the code is wrong, and it will actually give you suggestions as to how you can rectify the problem. That means if you have made a class and you've not made its object, or if there is a method that is not, like, that is not existing in the program, it will actually give you tips to do it, and it will create the method for you. Then you can just, like, add the body of the method. It's that simple. Next slide, please. Great. Architecture components. Learn good architecture principles by building a game app to unscramble words. So, like, we all think of various Android app related ideas, and it's not just related to games and social media. There is a huge scope of Android development, as panelists have already told us. Cars and wearables and smartphones, smart devices, everything. A lot of this, like, in the introduction session, there are like billions of devices that are using Android, right? So it's not just about building basic games or building basic networking platforms. You can create any app that you want at the end of this course. Advanced navigation example: combine what you've learned so far and in a more advanced app. Like, at the end, you can create anything you want because you will have the basic knowledge of it. Coroutines, this is a concept of Kotlin and Android development. I won't go into the depth of it because most of the people here have not, like, we all have not started with it. So once you get into it, you will understand how easy and fun and interactive it is. I mean, I started the first unit and I finished it on the very first day. It's that easy and that interactive. Retrieve and display images over the internet with HTTP and REST. So you will actually be able to connect your application to the internet and deploy the models that are already existing there, right? Next slide, please. Introduction to SQL, Room, and Flow. So, as the panelists were already talking about how the relational databases have a huge role to play when it comes to app development. So, you will be actually working with real time databases, and like, you can actually create a proper functioning app and host it on Play Store. Use Room for data persistence. Use the Room library to allow your apps to read and write from a database. You are actually working in real-time basis databases, like data sharing and stuff. Schedule tasks with Work Manager. So you can actually schedule your tasks with Work Manager. It is an API that handles background work. So to, like, summarize it all, this campaign will actually enable you to make real-time apps, and you can actually, like, this is something that comes with problem solving. You can actually work on a problem that you are facing or your colleagues are facing. I mean, that's the whole summary of what GDSC is all about. Identify the problems in your community and just come up with solutions. So I'm sure most of you will now be, like, motivated to start with the campaign right away, because our panelists have done such a great job to make you all understand. I don't know about you all, but I am really excited to go on with it. Can you move on to the next slide? Yeah, so thank you everyone. I'll just hand over the mic to Tejaswini, and then thank you everyone.
Thank you, Dhvani. I guess your speech was so enthusiastic and all of us enjoyed it a lot. And I would like to thank all the panelists as well for sharing their insights with us. it was great. So I would like to inform you all that our speaker, Mr. Sanju S, he was not able to join us due to some technical reasons. But I guess our team filled up for him very great. Also, thank you all for joining us and attending this session so patiently. Now, all the GDSCs will put their social media links in the chat box, so you all can reach out to us anytime. Whatever doubt you have, just drop a message in our inbox or mail us. It will be all right. Thank you, guys.